Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Mark Fixes Stuff. In this episode we'll be looking at the Panasonic 3DO FZ-1, which had the power problem in the last video. This is video 3 of 3. We replaced this capacitor in the last video, but I did actually go ahead and replace this capacitor and this capacitor in between the videos because I wasn't sure if they'd leaked underneath. As a result, I've checked them out and they're both perfectly fine. And I want to show you the difference by using my ESR meter. Now, ESR is a term called equivalent series resistance, and what that means is how much does it block the current going through to the rest of the circuit. So resistance, we all understand that. Got two prongs here. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the big one here. Now the big one is here. This was removed from the 3DO. So what we're going to do is drop that. Apologies, I have had a couple of beers tonight, so I do hope you'll forgive me for my slightly slurred speech and my complete lack of care. So I'm going to connect this one up as well. Now, because it's analysing, it's showing us 0.04 ohms of resistance, which is brilliant. For such an old capacitor, that's amazing. And we can see a capacitance of 6,754 microfarads. Now, if you appreciate that this is rated at 6,800 microfarads, that is really, really close. Most capacitors have a tolerance of 10% plus or minus, so that is well within tolerance. So we'll pull that off there. Now, just to show you what a healthy modern capacitor is like, this is a slightly different size, as you can see, but it's the same capacitance and the same voltage rating. So it is a upside down there, sorry YouTube, 6800 microfarad, 25 volt. Actually, is that 25 volt, the older one, or is that 16 volt? 25 volt. So let's connect this up and be comparative in what we're looking at. It's the same capacitor as I've put in to the board there, so let's go for it. These are a little bit slippy, these. Oh, well, of course it's turned off. Turn it on. Here we go. 0.04 ohms, exactly the same. And this one's 6982, so that's actually, well, it's not quite out of spec. It's actually slightly less healthy for, well, it's slightly a less better spec than we would expect. Okay, so moving on to the middle capacitor, which I'll move that out of the way, right here. Now this one is a where's it gone? 1000 microfarad, 6.3 volts. So let's connect this one up as well. Onto that leg. These ESR meters are non-polar, so you can just connect anything up to anything. 0.18 mics with 1024 microfarads, and it's not a precise science, so that's pretty good. When this meter goes dung dung, it means that it's okay, it's within spec. When it goes dong, you've got a problem. When it goes dong, you've got a big problem. So again, let's pull a healthy one in. Let's see, 6.3 volt, 1000 microfarads. Here we go. 0.08 ohms and 1082 microfarads. So that is a healthier capacitor. And it does line up with something that I've observed, which is that the smaller the capacitor nearer the heatsink, the more likely it is to fail. Which I guess, when you think they're fluid-filled units, makes a lot of sense. So with a complement of new capacitors in the power stage and desirably disenrobed, it might be a good idea to put this CD drive back on the top and see if we can fire this up. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work, so I thought we'd do this live so we can experience the pleasure or the pain together. So let's pop this back in. Now the two flat folded cables have to go in the back. Okay, 1, 2. This is almost entirely the reverse of the part 2 video where we disassembled. I can't get that one in. Come on. There we go, they're in, and I'm just going to pop this on the standoffs for testing. Now, do we think this is going to work? 3, 2, 1. Well, it was definitely that capacitor then down there. It's fired up. And the question is, does it play games? So let's try that. Okay, down here we've got the eject button. Good. And we need a 3DO game. Whoops, I just knocked the drawer. Come out again, please. A 3DO game. And yeah, let's turn on the TV. Well, this is looking kind of promising. I've not plugged a controller in. So remember everybody that this 3DO would not turn on at all. It was completely dead. We've effectively changed 3 capacitors, of which we've tested them, and 1 was definitely faulty. And that looks like that's working to me. I'm very, very pleased. Chun-Li licking her finger. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Bastard Edition. God, that sounds awful, but I think that's part of the game.
Round 1, fight!
Okay, so whilst this is very, very interesting, I can't help but think that you might want to see something else going on. So let's see what else we've got. Since the last video, there was a bit of a terrible accident. I had the 3DO pack-in sampler CD, which sounds insignificant. However, it actually contains the memory management utility for the 3DO itself. So unlike a PlayStation that you would, well, the first PlayStation, the PlayStation X, which you would buy, and it had the memory management built in. If you turned it on without a disc, you actually had to load a disc to delete save games on these machines. And there was a terrible accident. I dropped the disc whilst I was walking, stood on it, and I've cracked it. It was so bad I've thrown it in the bin. But luckily, the 3DO has absolutely no copy protection, so I've burned another copy somewhere, and it's not on the best quality disc, so it's a bit skippy, but let me just show that to you.
Panasonic.
Press X. It loads a small program which then accesses the battery-backed save RAM inside the machine. So we can see Space Hulk, Space Hulk, Space Hulk, FIFA maybe, I don't know. Snow Job Permanent, no idea. Gex videos and Return Fire. So you can remove them by pressing A. Initialize the whole thing by pressing P, i.e. wipe out all of them, or go X for done. And that goes on to load the rest of it. So yeah, that demo disc was actually really fairly important. Oh god, now it's going to go and load up the demos. Actually, the demo disc isn't bad. It's got some quite good titles on it that you can play with, but I think that's beyond the scope.
Panasonic Real 3DO Interactive Multiplayer introduces you to an exciting and fascinating interactive world. With the Real 3DO system, you can enjoy playing 4 kinds of CDs.
Shut up.
3DO.
So, recorded discs work. Original discs work. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. This is all just bonus content now because we fixed it. So let's just pop that out. Eject. Let's try this. This is a Taiyuden Burned Syndicate 3DO game. I've also got D here, which interesting game. One of the first sort of survival horrors. If you can get your hands on it, it's worth having a go. Bit odd though. If you listen, this is trying less hard to read disc because it's a Taiyuden disc. 3DO, Bullfrog, Peter Molyneux, Larry Bundy, you'll be upset by this. So if you can imagine back in the day, this would have blown people's gaming minds. Assassination. So seemingly no problem with any of the discs I'm trying. Let's pop this one out. Finally, I've got one other disc which I wrote. Where is it? Let's see. The shielding. Well, it might be this one. Return Fire 3DO. One of the best soundtracks of any game ever. 3DO splash screen. Sorry about this noise. I keep tripping over this massive pile of Commodore 64 stuff I got donated. Dolby Surround. So really, the proof the pudding is in the eating. It all works, and that's a massive rip-off of the Death Star from Star Wars, surely. So, yeah, it works. I'm happy. What's going to happen now is I am going to put this all together. I'm going to replace all the other capacitors. And it's going to be good to go. It's probably going to be for sale soon. So, everybody, over the top of this stirring orchestral music, I have to say, subscribe to get your fix and punch my bell.